Well, if that doesn't get you going, I don't know what will. The USF2000 series, they had a test session yesterday, a couple of them, as we go green for the first official practice session of the weekend. And there we see the number 11 of Dylan Christie making his way down pit road and onto this nearly 2.5-mile road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, Michael, we're actually qualifying right now.
That's right.
This is qualifying. We had that first official practice yesterday afternoon. We had a couple of test sessions as well. So we will take the opportunity as well to say hello to those of you tuning into the Road to Indy TV app or on any one of the platforms where you can watch all the Road to Indy competition. We know that we get a lot of viewers from overseas, down in New Zealand, Australia, you name it. So we say hello to our international viewers and, of course, those of you trackside here as well. As Michael had said earlier, this is the opening rung of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. From here, drivers will move into Indy Pro 2000, and if all goes well, up into Indy Lights. And then following in the footsteps of a Pato Award, Felix Rosenquist, Renus VK, working their way all the way into the NTT IndyCar Series. And as Michael had said, drivers did have a practice session yesterday afternoon. And Michael, was interesting. Alex Quinn, the driver I had mentioned earlier from the UK, who ran last year in the Formula Regional European Championship, coming over here to run as part of a new collaboration between Arden Motorsports and Velocity Racing Development that will see drivers go both ways across the ocean. Alex coming out of the gate strongly, had some issues in the opening session, but was the fastest driver in practice yesterday with a 126.646, a tenth and a half quicker than Jagger Jones, who you mentioned as well. So for Quinn, picking up this challenging racetrack very quickly throughout yesterday's test and practice sessions.
We will open up with a couple of rounds of qualifying. The Indy Pro 2000 will have their qualification session right after this for the USF 2000. We talk about qualifying throughout any race weekend, especially on a road course, getting that gap, getting that ability to have a clean lap put together. But with so many cars and everybody going out the same, does it really affect these USF 2000 cars as much as it would in any other form or any other rung of the ladder?
Indeed it does. The driver has to get that open racetrack. If you get into a pack of drivers who are maybe a little slower than you, you're going to find yourself getting stacked back up. It's better to be around drivers who are a bit quicker through the practice sessions. You know, they can be your rabbit. They'll be the drivers you're going to try to chase to see if you can't to find that good speed. But the big thing about the sessions that we don't do obviously pit stops in our races, but we do pit stops during the qualifying sessions. These drivers, it's a triple header this weekend. So a set amount of tires, they'll be coming in here. I would assume midway through the session, Michael, we've seen this before. They'll go out on a set of tires here right now, the carryover set from practice. Get out here, get a feel for this racetrack. They'll put fresh tires on. We're going to see the pole run come later in this session.
Yeah, these Cooper tires are very durable, and as you said, they've already had these on for one session, so they will use up these Cooper tires. We'll get an initial feel for who is quick. Sykes, Gard, Jones, Hayes, and Frazier, your top 5 currently, but we just have a couple of laps in. And very cool this morning, so a lot of horsepower being put down by these drivers.
Yeah, and much different than yesterday. I think we were about 135 to 138 degrees on the track temp. It was incredibly high yesterday, and a lot of drivers coming in saying there was a ton of grip. They had a lot of grip. Not that the car was really sliding, but it had a ton of grip, and it was tough on all the drivers we have, both in USF 2000 and Indy Pro. But indeed, as you said, Michael, much different today. Just 64 degrees here, ambient temperature, so the track temp will be much lower than it was yesterday. Simon Sykes, who came out of the gate as our fast driver in the opening test yesterday, currently the fastest driver here for Legacy Autosport, a 126.900, 4/10 quicker than Bejoy Gard for D-Force Racing. Jagger Jones for Cape Motorsports in 3rd. Nicky Hayes, his teammate, in 4th spot. And Billy Fraser, the young driver from New Zealand for Exclusive Autosport, who comes into the weekend sitting 5th in the points, wrapping up the top 5 right now. But again, as you and I have done many times, Michael, and I've done with Greg here as well, there's no real need in throwing out top 5s over the first 10, 15 minutes because it changes so much throughout the last 15.
And when those new Coopers go on, we'll really see what these drivers had in the probably last 6-7 minutes of this qualifying session. Cape Motorsports, Jay Howard Driver Development, D-Force, Pabst, Exclusive, Turn 3, all names we've heard for years and years and years. These teams come to this Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Talk a little bit about Jay Howard, obviously one of the former drivers of the NTT IndyCar Series.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at the teams that we have. You go to a Jay Howard, you go to a Peter Dempsey. We can talk about his success that he's had here at the Speedway as well. But yeah, Jay Howard, Multi-time champion, USF2000 champion, Indy Lights champion, a number of starts, as we know, in the Indianapolis 500. But now a team owner, and actually now a karting dad as well, which I think is great. His son, Hudson, now just starting to get into karting. There's a race out at Newcastle Motorsports Park on Saturday and Sunday, a World Karting Association event. I have a feeling that Jay Howard's going to wrap up here with his team on Saturday and be out there with his son likely for their first big national race on Sunday. So the next generation of Howards is going racing here in Indianapolis.
You know what that means. We're getting old.
Very true.
To see these generational changes, we're getting old, but still plenty of time in this qualification session. Only 5.5 minutes in. We will have 14 minutes remaining. This is a 20-minute qualification session, and as Rob had said, these drivers, and as we see various shots throughout the circuit here today, a lot of cars slipping and sliding around, really not a lot of track temperature there, and they're creating a lot of horsepower, so these drivers getting after it until they get this new set of Coopers on.
Well, the interesting thing too is obviously the engineers of each of these teams will change the setup based on the input they got from the drivers yesterday, based on all the data they were able to pull. Well, it's significantly taking a bit of a shot in the dark here this morning, going maybe on past races. Obviously a new car this year as well to a certain extent. Very similar car, but we have a new tub with the halo on the car, so it's a bit of a different dynamic. The center of gravity is a bit higher than it was last year. So all that data that they've got from the last 10 years, or at least the last 5 years with this particular Tatis race car, not exactly perfect in terms of setting up for a morning session. So a bit of a crapshoot, but it will come down to the drivers getting the job done when we do go to the last 5-10 minutes of this session.
4 rounds in, you talked about that halo. We have several of these drivers who competed last year. The difference for them in this car, is it noticeable?
I don't think so. Most of the drivers say the car runs pretty much exactly the same. The only real difference, as we said, the tub's a little bit wider. All the aerodynamics the same. We haven't changed any of the aero in terms of the downforce on these race cars. So, and them jumping behind the wheel with the halo, they said they can't even see it. The first couple sessions you're in, it's gone. You don't even see it anymore. The level of safety that we've added is obviously amazing, and it's happened throughout the world. We'll do the same thing with our new USF Juniors car, which is a development series we started this year to move drivers into USF2000, a brand new Tatis JR23 for the USF Juniors next year. It will have the halo as well. But to be honest, performance-wise, the drivers really, I don't think are feeling much at all.
We see Spike Kohlbecker sitting on pit lane going with his new set of Cooper tires, and any fan of open wheel racing, especially the NTT IndyCar Series, you see a quick change. It's completely different. Explain the process of getting these tires on.
Well, we have the one lug nut, the same as IndyCar, but we don't have the over-the-wall team. You're only allowed to have 2 people over the wall working on the car. So one person's jacking it up, one person's going to work, and they've essentially got to go all the way around. You jack the rear of the car up, change the rear, jack the front up, change the front. So we don't have a 6.5 second down and away pit stop here. It takes a bit longer, and that's part of the strategy too, because you need to make sure you have your driver come in at the right time, because you in that second stint when you put the fresh tires on, there's that equation that you have that comes out with a fast lap. It's not just a driver going out there finally getting comfortable and, hey, I just turned my qualifying lap. No, it's about the fact that you have so much fuel in the car. So by the end of the session, the car is going to be as light as it possibly is as you burned off fuel. At that point, your tire pressures are set. We have a red flag right now. This will bring everybody into pit lane. When we have a red flag, everybody comes into pit lane. So press the reset button, Michael. With how much time we have left in the session? We still have over 10 minutes still left to go. 12 minutes still left to go in the session. So again, the equation for the fast lap: get out there, get the tires up to temperature. They've set the pressure correctly. The tires get right into the specific window when they're going to have the best grip. The Cooper tires, sometimes the track is 2nd or 3rd lap. Sometimes it's 4th or 5th lap. That's where the magic peak is. You've got to time that magic peak with the pressures getting at the right time, exactly with an open racetrack. The fuel as low as possible, the car's as light as it possibly can be, and the driver has to get the job done. A lot of stuff going into making it work, but again, the yellow flag coming up for Jorge Garcias, the Mexican driver for Jay Howard Driver Development, an issue over in turn number 7.
Yeah, that's the run down Holman Boulevard into the left-hander of turn number 7. The car sits, we don't have visuals of where that car is, but I saw a lot of drivers slipping and sliding, especially through that switchback as well as they come through the first portion of the course. The switchback of 5 and 6, where you have that quick left and right hander, saw a lot of slipping and sliding, and then going into 7, carrying all that momentum and then dumping the car into the turn in turn number 7.
It's a crucial part of this racetrack because obviously you can pass to the inside. It's the hardest braking zone other than turn number 1 on the racetrack coming down Humboldt Boulevard into 7. So as you come down into the corner, you got to roll a lot of corner speed in there because that sets up 8 and 9 and 10. If you're not good through 7, you're not going to be able to get someone 9, 10, or even coming on to the 11, 12, 13 combination. This looked like he actually had some issues coming into the corner, so probably a mechanical coming down, not like he went off on the outside of the racetrack.
Got some visuals there. We now see for the second time, saw that Barber Motorsports Park, but here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, getting ready for our GMR Grand Prix weekend, we have the LED panels. So obviously we have corner workers, but as fans make their way into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, if you're on the main straightaway or looking at the back straight, you can see these red panels now flashing red because we're under red flag conditions. But I looked down the main straightaway a little bit earlier, and I'm like, boy, those are bright. So they will get your attention if you're a driver. You always know track green. If we go caution red, you know what's going on.
Something brand new for the drivers because obviously the visual, they're all so used to it. Obviously these kids, some of them, 15, 16, 17 years of age, but they've been karting since they were 5 or 6. So they're so used to seeing the flags. They're so used to using the peripherals to pick up a marshal whatever side of the racetrack it may be on. These new LED panels will be something for them to get used to, but I think it'll be a great addition to the program. Anything that provides more safety, more awareness for incidents on the racetrack. Let's have a look at the lineup right now as we're just past the halfway point. You'll see everybody will jump on and get fresh tires put on the cars here right now. Up top, once again, Alex Quinn, the young British driver, the number 17 for Velocity Racing Development. A lot of talent there. Alex coming through the British F4 program, did Formula Renault Super Cup back in 19 and 20. Last year, 9th overall in the Formula Regional European Championship. They've been good out of the gate for Velocity Racing Development, both with Alex Quinn and his teammate Victor Anderson, the Swede, P5 yesterday, the best we've seen out of Victor to start the season. But it's Quinn on top. Jace Denmark, one of our winners from the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg for Pabst Racing, who have been strong over the first 2 events. He's second. Michael D'Orlando, last year's runner-up in the championship, running for Cape Motorsports. He is P3. Jagger Jones, a winner already from Barber Motorsports Park, in 4th. And Thomas Neveu, the young Canadian from Quebec for Cape Motorsports, for Neveu running for D-Force Racing. A winner last year at Road America, another driver we expect to win again here. So I'll tell you this, Michael, this may be the most competitive USF2000 field we've had. A couple of new drivers in the program this particular weekend that we'll talk about, some young guys getting a feel for it, but this field is absolutely stacked this year.
I think it's interesting as we go back to green in this qualification session. We still have 11 minutes remaining. This, after a lap or 2, when they get some heat in these Cooper tires, we'll see who has what as far as qualifying goes.
Yeah, this is it now. They've all changed to fresh tires. We give these drivers essentially a 30-minute session and a guaranteed 20 minutes of green flag racing. Once we get to the 20, we'll shut it down. So we really put the pressure on them. And now this is it. They've come in. They've had a chance to debrief a little bit with that red flag, talk to their engineers. Do we want to make any changes to the car at all? You put the fresh rubber on. Fresh rubber does fix a lot of ailments on a car. The minute you give guys grip, it kind of fixes everything. But you've got to make sure that as you get that tire up to temp, you take care of it. You're going to come up to speed slowly here. You don't want to burn these tires off. But this is crunch time for these guys because I don't want to say this is a track position race because there's a lot of places to overtake here on the road course at IMS. But, man, starting up front, as you know, gets you through the chaos of the opening couple of corners. Qualifying pole, P1, P2, anywhere in the front 2 rows is crucial.
Slipstream, is it important? Can you get tucked underneath the rear wing of a car and able to overtake through that process?
There's always the balance of the extra speed in the straightaway and then losing, of course, in some of the coming onto the front straightaway, you get behind someone, you get the aero wash, you lose the wing off, you get that push, the understeer. But, man, this racetrack, these are 2 of the longest straightaways we have on the circuit. The front straightaway here down to turn 1, and then, of course, out of turn number 5 and 6 back to 7 on Humboldt Boulevard. Slipstream plays a huge advantage, and maybe even more so when we do restarts. If we ever go full course yellow, a restart, you almost don't want to be at the front because you can get passed so easily coming down into turn number 1. You block to the inside, but it's one of the longest restart zones from the yard of bricks down into the braking zone of 1 that we have in the circuit.
We have a car around entering turn number 1, lost the back end, unable to get a visual on who that was, but qualifying continues just about, I should say, 9 minutes remaining in this qualification session, but we did see a car spinning down in turn number 1.
Gotta hate that, Michael. That's cold tires, right? That's a driver going hard into the corner and looping it around. Yeruli for Jay Howard, driver development. And listen, this is all part of driver development, and we know mistakes are going to happen. That's what happens when you're young and you're learning. You're going to make mistakes. You don't know what the edge is until you drive over it. And learning how to maximize cold tires is what separates the front of the field from the back of the field in qualifying.
I would imagine at any circuit, a spin is a spin, but when you spin at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's got to be a little bit frustrating. Let's see a replay as the entrance of turn number 1 as Yeruli makes his way down into turn number 1. Keep your eye on the video boards for that.
Oh, he's literally coming out of the pit lane on cold tires. No, there he is up top there going around. And that's, this is a track where you're trying to roll so much corner speed into the corner. Just get down into that corner. You're trying to push it hard. And you got to get it to rotate. And on cold tires, the minute you start to lose the traction, it's going to go around on you.
But the frustration of that, you have brand new Coopers on, and now the potential for flat spotting those brand new tires.
Flat spotted them 100%. Yeah, you've essentially given away qualifying. Yeruli, a young driver coming out of the Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series, the official series of the Road to Indy. We've seen many young drivers come out of that program. Reese Gold, Prescott Campbell, Ivagoras Papasavas, who have come up through into this Road to Indy. Of course, Reese Gold, probably the most successful we've seen so far come out of the Lucas Oil School of Racing, the Enerson's program there. And this is a kid that's going to be challenging for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship this year. And you'll see Reese Gold in Indy Lights in 2023.
Alex Quinn, the quick lap, minute 25, 77.35. He is the quick around this nearly 2.5 mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Denmark just laid down his quickest lap of this qualification session, minute 25, 81.74. Roe Sykes, Orlando round out the top 5 with 7 minutes remaining.
This is really impressive for Alex Quinn, coming over from the UK, as we said, runs for Arden Motorsports overseas. And not only the fact that he's picking up a brand new racetrack, there's a lot of drivers who have never really driven here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but a lot of the times for me, it's how you're able to really optimize new tires. Yeah, he's never used the Cooper tires before, right? Maybe in a test somewhere we did a secret test we didn't know about. Otherwise, that's one of the things they'll say coming over. I talked to Louis Foster yesterday, who runs for Exclusive Autosport, one of the top drivers in Indy Pro. He's run all the different kinds of tires when he ran in Europe. So this is something new that he's having to learn how to maximize, especially in qualifying. That's the one thing that Louis is battling with. He's been qualifying a little further back, always drives his way forward. Getting to understand how to fully maximize and optimize those tires at their best is what separates, again, the front of the field from the back of the field.
And now when we talk about Alex Quinn, just that quickly, Rob Howden, things begin to change. Jagger Jones now quick, minute 25.4479. Tops the timing and scoring chart. Still 6 minutes remaining in qualifying. If you have a good one saved in your back pocket, time to get it put down now.
Again, it's the equation I talked about. The tires are coming up to temperature. You got to hit that exact sweet spot when they're going to be the absolute best. There is a peak in terms of grip. These tires are unbelievably consistent, but there is a peak in terms of grip, and ideally you hit that peak right when the fuel load's as low as it possibly can be. You've got the tire pressures up, and you have open racetrack. That's the other thing. How many drivers have you heard, Michael, will come in, they'll say, I was on a flyer and I got caught up by a slow guy. I was P1. I was going P1. Everybody says that because
the I was syndrome. I was.
That's exactly it. Jagger Jones, Thomas Nouveau, Jace Denmark, Michael D'Orlando, and Alex Quinn, your current top 5. Bajoy Garg in the 5th spot. Six is Garg now. Seventh, Simon Sykes. He has rolled into pit lane for Legacy Autosports. Sykes, a multi-time winner here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the SCCA National Championship runoffs. He's in seventh. Miles Rowe, your point leader now, in the number 22 for Pabst Racing, eighth. Chase Gardner, a kid we need to talk about. I mentioned a bunch of young drivers who are making their debut. Chase from Texas did some F4 racing last year, running just this weekend. He's going to be testing all this year to run USF2000 in 2023. Chase Gardner out of Texas. This is a huge debut. Currently ninth for D-Force Racing, ahead of Jackson Lee in the number 2, local driver from Avon, Indiana, currently P10.
Jagger Jones still the top of timing and scoring with just about 4.5 minutes remaining in this qualification session. You're watching the USF 2000 Grand Prix of Indianapolis drivers qualify for a very big weekend. Not one, not two, three races for them this race weekend.
Triple header this weekend for USF 2000. We'll have a race today and then 2 more tomorrow. Same with Indy Pro 2000. We have our autograph sessions coming up as well, I believe. Autograph session for Indy Pro 2000 at 10 o'clock in the fan zone today. We'll have USF 2000 this afternoon as well at 1:30. But a crucial weekend, Michael. And again, we always kind of look towards Road America being the middle of the season. But as you start this season, you've got momentum. When you do a triple header at any racetrack, especially Indianapolis, if you're good and can roll out with 3 wins or 3 podiums, man, is it ever set up for a good run into the second half of the season?
And the potential, God forbid, an incident in race number 2 and having to get things turned around for race number 3, that could be costly in the championship.
Didn't bring this up either. This is our only qualifying session when we have 3 races. So here's kind of the layout. Your fastest lap will set the grid for race 1. Your second fastest lap will be used for race 2 or 3. But you can go better in a race. Like if you have a faster lap in race 1 than your second fastest qualifying lap, you can use that lap instead. A bit of an odd equation, but that's how crucial this session is here. If you're really fast right now, you can put yourself on the pole for all 3 races. Reese Gold did that last year.
Jagger Jones still P1, Quinn, DeVoe, Denmark, and D. Orlando rounding out your top 5. 2 minutes, 45 seconds remaining for qualifying. And that is an interesting point, as you said, Rob, that the fact that they could lay down a quick race lap time, and that still goes towards the qualifying effort.
Exactly that. So when we've seen drivers do that, maybe you have a bad qualifying run, so maybe you come out midway through the first race, you put fresh tires on to try to go for a faster qualifying lap. If again, the temperatures are going to be a lot higher, we go racing this afternoon for USF 2000, and this is a back-to-back session as well. We're not going to wait much. We'll have a little bit of a break. We're right back into Indy Pro 2000. Those drivers coming out. And one thing we haven't mentioned yet, which we will throughout the entire weekend, is what these guys are racing for, right? The champion here in USF 2000, winning the full scholarship to move up to Indy Pro 2000. We watched Kyle Kirkwood steam his way through, winning all 3 in a row. Now we've seen him with AJ Foyt Racing in the NTT IndyCar Series. Spencer Piggott, one of the drivers who was able to win both USF 2000 and Indy Lights Championships. Arenas VK won a championship in Indy Pro 2000. The scholarship's so huge for these young drivers to keep moving in their careers.
It really, really is. It's been an amazing run to watch these drivers, the names that you bring up, make their way through this Road to Indy ladder program. As we see this very first run with 1:30 remaining, Jagger Jones still atop, 1:25, 42.54. Last time by 1:30, so something happening or trying to set himself up for another quick one. But I've seen a lot of consistent laps, at least in those top 5s. They've been right at that 1:25 midway point, 1:25.5.
You got to think he rolls down at 1:30, probably closed up on somebody, wants to get back a bit, cool the tires down a little bit to take one more run at it as they'll get a couple more laps. But listen, if you're an Indianapolis 500 faithful, how cool is it to see the Jones name on the top of the charts here at IMS?
It was amazing at Barber Motorsports Park in the second race of the week, and I was like, well, hey, it's Jagger Jones. It was something. So happy for that young man and for him to come in here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Has the lankiness of his grandfather and his father as well. I believe he's like 6'2". He's
tall, yeah.
He's a tall young man.
Cape Motorsports is probably the tallest USF 2000 team in the history of the sport. Michael D'Orlando, 6'3". Jackson Lee, as you know, is probably 6'3" as well. Nikki Hayes at 5'9" is the shortest on the team.
They have to pack him in over at Cape, that is for sure. Just 18 seconds remaining. We will wrap up qualifying as these drivers complete their final laps around this 2.5-mile road course here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
One of the amazing things about Jagger Jones, who's currently P1, looking to try to grab this pole, is he understands his family legacy. There's no doubt about it, but he's here to make a name for himself. And he and I did an interview earlier this year about that, about the fact that, listen, I know what's happening, and I feel it, and I love my legacy, but I'm here to make my Jagger Jones name. That's the whole the key issue, and I think that's good for a young driver. Checker flag now being shown both at start finish and of course at the alternate timing line. Jones still on top. Alex Quinn can't quite get it done. How about 65 thousandths of a second between first and second? Less than a tenth separating first, second, and third right now. Jagger Jones for Cape Motorsports still on top of the 125.425. Jones quicker by over 6 hundredths of a second from Alex Quinn. Thomas Naveau, the Canadian, into third spot in the number 10. Chase Denmark in fourth. Michael D'Orlando fifth. Bejoy Garg sixth. Miles Rose seventh. Simon Sykes in eighth. Joey Brienza in ninth. And Billy Fraser 10th. Brienza, who's running in the FRP F1600 Championship for the second season this year with Exclusive Autosport, running that Formula 1600. He's quicker than the primary driver, the second-year driver for Exclusive, Billy Fraser. There'll be some chatter back in the engineering room there. Fraser, a driver we expect to go for some race wins here this year, comes in fifth in points, only 16 markers behind Miles Rowe. This is going to be a battle for the exclusive drivers, but Jagger Jones, Michael, on top, key here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If he has a good second lap, he may be P1 for all three races.
All the drivers have cleared the timing and scoring line, which here on the road course is the near entrance to turn number 11, basically the midway point between turns 10 and 11. That is the timing and scoring line for qualifying. And as Rob had said, Jagger Jones has the pole. Minute 25.4254 for race number 1, which comes up later on this afternoon.
Later on this afternoon, top 20 drivers within a second, going back to 14-year-old Danny Dzelski in the number 8 machine for Jay Howard Driver Development. He's 20th. There is your unofficial results. Jagger Jones on the pole. Alex Quinn, the young British driver, in second spot. Thomas Naveau in third. Chase Denmark in fourth. Michael D'Orlando fifth. And Bejoy Garg in the sixth spot. Jones for Cape Motorsports. Quinn for VRD. Naveau for D-Force. Denmark for Pabst. There's Miles Rowe, your point leader in the number 22. He'll start 7th inside of row number 4 alongside Simon Sykes. It'll be all exclusive Autosport on row 5 with Joey Brienza on the inside, Billy Fraser on the outside. Then Chase Gardner and Jackson Lee on row number 6. Brienza and Gardner, the two drivers making their debuts. Very impressive. Spike Kohlbecker ends up 13th. Christian Weir for Turn 3 Motorsports, those two drivers in 14th, 13th and 14th respectively. Dylan Christie ends up in 15th. Trey Burke in the Joe Dueling Autosport. Curb Agajanian number 63 and 16th. Victor Anderson 17th. Nicky Hayes 18th. 23 drivers in the field. Jacob Douglas, Danny Dzelski, Frankie Mossman, Yiru Lee rounding out the field. Jorge Garcias in 23rd spot, but he had that issue early on.
Well, there we have it, our first qualification session of this race weekend, and we have a very, very busy weekend for you. Qualifying for the second run of the Road to Indy ladder, the Indy Pro 2000 drivers will make their way to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Qualifying for them coming up at 8:45 this morning. So some time to hit the concession stand and grab a cup of coffee or a quick breakfast and join us here for Indy Pro 2000 qualifying. Welcome, race fans. What a great weekend we have in store for you. You're at the racing capital of the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Engine and protected up to 15 years or 500,000 miles guaranteed. That's like hitting the open road and driving from Key West to Anchorage 100 times. Pennzoil is made from natural gas. The proof is in the
you might
Pennzoil.
need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things. Like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
Booth. I'm Michael Young along with Greg Rakestraw and the voice of the Road to Indy ladder, Rob Howden, joins us as we get set to go qualifying the second run of the Road to Indy program, the Indy Pro 2000 drivers.
Yeah, so many of these drivers have time on this particular racetrack, the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway coming through USF2000. So they know what to do here, Michael. They've been on the racetrack. We had a couple of test sessions yesterday and official practice yesterday afternoon. Throughout this are the drivers who have won races here before. Braden Eves, Reese Gold, big year last year, of course. But there are some rookies who have looked good here in Indy Pro 2000 to start the season. First and second in points, Nolan Siegel from Palo Alto, California, leading the way right now for D-Force Racing. A couple of wins on the season. Louis Foster, winless so far, but 3 podiums, 4 straight top 5s. The British driver for Exclusive Autosport knocking on the door for victory number 1.
And much like the USF 2000 series, 4 rounds and 3 winners.
Yeah, I like that. I thought we were going to have 4 new winners to start the season, but Nolan Siegel came on strong, won both at St. Petersburg and at Barber Motorsports Park. But we do have some great drivers on the outside looking in that will get wins before we get started. And Ahmed's going to get a victory, I expect, sometime this season. Louis Foster, as I mentioned already. One of the interesting developments coming into this particular weekend, Jack William Miller, who's an Indianapolis, Indiana driver for Miller Vinatieri Motorsports, they've actually entered a technical partnership, an alliance with Exclusive Autosport, which is going to help out Jack William Miller. He's been a kind of a single car effort for his entire career in the program. And I think for him to be able to work with a team like Exclusive, a driver like Louis Foster, it's going to raise his game up.
And so fans know Jack William Miller, son of Dr. Jack Miller,
Exactly.
who drove in the IndyCar Series, and Adam Vinatieri from the Colts.
Exactly that. A great partnership there, and a great young driver with a lot of talent for sure. Came into the program a couple of years ago, just 14 years of age, running in USF 2000. So he's got a lot of mileage in the Road to Indy, and he's got a lot of mileage in this racetrack as well.
Rob, again, we've explained the fact this is step number 2, so fans can kind of grasp the fact that, yep, these youngsters, even though still young in their racing careers, do have more of a level of experience than you see in the USF 2000 series. From a technical standpoint, what are the differences in the car compared to the series that we just saw on the track?
Yeah, so USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, to put it on the absolute baseline, it's just more of everything, we always say. More downforce, more horsepower. We go from 170 up to 250, more torque, much bigger brakes, more braking, more grip, bigger tires, just absolutely more of everything. It's a ton of fun to drive. The guys and girls that move up from USF 2000 to Indy Pro just love the fact that they get so much more horsepower, so much more braking capability. And again, all this designed to develop these drivers to be ready to hop into the Dallara IL-15 for Indy Lights.
To your point, that's the exact goal of this entire program, is you get a little bit more with each step and you hone your skills and hopefully potentially get you to the NTT IndyCar Series someday.
Well, and the idea is to just develop them as we bring them up, right? It's a slow, steady progression, not only with the technical side in terms of the race car they're driving, but even on the tracks they drive as well. In USF 2000, you're on an oval one time. We run the Freedom 75 at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll do that at the Carbonite Classic. You move to Indy Pro 2000, and you run not only the Freedom 90 at IRP, but you also run at Worldwide Technology Raceway on that fast oval as well. So the whole idea is developing these drivers slowly but consistently, bringing new challenge to them, different race cars, whatever it may be, so that they're ready to make the jump, like we've seen out of Colton Herta, Pato Award, Renus VK, from Indy Lights into IndyCar.
To give an example again of the differences now from a timing standpoint, for example, the fastest time of the previous session about 1:25. Already we're looking at times of 1:22, and again, the session is just getting started. You did a great job of breaking down, hey, it's not just, I'm going to go turn a fast lap. It is, all right, I got to do so with the right amount of fuel in the car, right level of scrub on the tires, having them broken in, etc. In this 20-minute session, when will we see the fastest lap?
It's going to be the same as USF 2000. We're going to see these guys go out here. The tires they're running now will be the tires that they used yesterday in practice. They, got a feel for the car in practice, dialed some things in, made some changes, come back out to get the feel of those, and then when they come down, maybe let's say with maybe 9 minutes into the session, 8-9 minutes into the session, they'll put the fresh Coopers on, and then it'll probably about 4 or 5 laps after that when they'll lay down that magic lap.
And the same process, so the fans know, they'll come down to pit lane line, and you said the one nut. I don't think we discussed the fact they don't actually use guns. They have to actually.
It's a big torque bar.
It's a big torque bar that they have to take those tires off with.
It's a different process. Like I said, you're not going to see a 6.5 second pit stop here to get the job done. They'll take a little more time. They're only allowed a certain amount of people over the wall. We don't have the full, 8-9 crew member deal going over the wall. So just a couple of guys over the wall to get the job done. But who we have coming? That was Jack William Miller, I think, coming down pit lane, which is very a surprise being that early. Maybe just wanting to go for the sticker Coopers earlier on in the session when the track's a bit cooler. It will obviously continue to come up. We're a couple of degrees warmer already than we were when we started for USF2000, but maybe a little early for Miller. That could signal potential issue.
Louis Foster has the fastest time on the track currently. First sub 122 lap, 121.6946. Resides in LA, but again from England, and is one of the handful of rookies in the series this year. Tell us about Louis.
Louis Foster is a driver that we've been watching over in Europe. Ran a bunch of different programs, the Formula Regional European Championship, ran a Euro Formula Open as well. Actually goes to school out in California, Loyola Marymount. Came over to go to school here. Just happens to pair nicely with the fact that he's wanted to come and run here in the Road to Indy. And he is an unbelievably talented young driver. And he's been probably the most consistent driver we've had on the season so far. The one thing we talked about, we talked about Michael and Greg in the USF2000 qualifying session, how crucial it is. It's one of the things that Foster and Exclusive Autosport struggle with a little bit is qualifying. He hasn't qualified up front. Every time you do that, a little harder to win, right? Because this field is so competitive. He's had to fight his way forward in every race. If we get him on a pole for a race, he could very easily walk away for a race win.
Interesting qualification session thus far as we've been talking about Foster. Siegel already wins a couple this year, minute 22.05. We've already seen several cars come down pit row, and you talked about Jack William Miller, Rob. He was the slowest on track as he came down pit lane, but you talked about a potential issue. He was literally 3 seconds off the pace for the rest of the field.
To me, I think he might probably just got out and got the tires warmed up a little bit. What they may have done, depending on the pace that they know they had, because yesterday he was actually fourth in the practice session. They may have went out and just scuffed a set of tires. That's a possibility. Obviously, only 4 sets of tires for the entire weekend. So you know what? You go out, you put a couple of laps on it, heat cycle the tire. It'll be better later on in the weekend.
So we have 12 and a half minutes remaining in qualifying. That transition now, as you see cars make their way down pit lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, going from the set that they used yesterday in that practice session to fresh Cooper tires as these drivers try to vie for the pole for what will also be a triple header weekend for the Indy Pro 2000 drivers.
Indeed, coming in now to get those fresh Coopers on. They'll make maybe some minor adjustments to the cars based on the feedback from the drivers. It's Foster on top, Nolan Siegel in second, your point leader. Yuvan Sundaramurthy for Pabst Racing up into third. He has had success here before. He won last year in USF2000. Reese Gold, a winner last year as well. He is in fourth, and Braden Eves in the fifth spot. We'll talk more about Eves and the issues, the ups and downs he's had here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But one of the interesting additions to the program here this weekend is Lindsey Brewer, a young lady out of San Diego, actually was from Colorado. Lindsey Brewer, 25 years of age. I've watched her come through karting back in the mid-2000s. Has done a bunch of racing in the Skip Barber Series. Did some sports car racing this past couple of years. Excited about trying to get into the Road to Indy. Her debut with Exclusive Autosport. She has the Mastermind sponsorship, the same as we see for Matt Brabham in Indy Lights. Lindsey's obviously diving into the deep end here in Indy Pro 2000, but yesterday only a second off the fastest times, so she has shown great pace here to start her Road to Indy career.
It's interesting you talk about these drivers and watching them go through these various ladder systems, obviously through karting as well. I would say some of these drivers, I would think that you kind of feel like a father figure since you follow them, but you're to the point now where you're to the grandfather figure.
I knew you were going to go that way.
No, you didn't.
No. I've been very lucky to be able to watch so many of these young drivers come up through the ranks. I will say this, I've been doing it long enough that some of the kids that I used to cover and talk about their racing when they were cadets, and now I have to race against them in the master's classes at 30 years of age and older. So that's more of a telling indication. than that. It's been a lot of fun, though. You think about the kids that we've watched. You're the same way, Michael, when you first started working with us at Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. When you were with IndyCar, obviously, as you're with IndyCar Radio, you get a chance now to you develop a relationship with these drivers. You know so much about what they've done through the road to Indy. It obviously helps you for IndyCar Radio as well.
Well, you see, you're just going through the top 10 year after year. These names aren't brand new. These are names that you're very familiar with. And we always say it's such a great opportunity for race fans, especially for the ones who've come out and joined us this morning, to see these names, to hear these names, to see these drivers compete out here. These are the drivers, we say it so many times, that you will see 4, 5, 6 years from now competing in the NTT IndyCar Series. So when you see a rookie come in, you're not like, who's Kyle Kirkwood? You've seen him run this entire Road to Indy program.
And I say that all the time. You're out there, you're buying the merchandise of a Kyle Kirkwood, Pato O'Ward, Renus VK. Well, you know what? You could have latched onto that driver and followed them all their way through the Road to Indy, their careers, which is great.
And to your point, these autograph sessions that happen throughout the weekend, you become a familiar face, and once they become stars, it's like they're part of the family as far as fanage goes.
Yeah, 100%. The drivers in USF2000 will have their autograph session at 1:30 this afternoon. They actually go racing at 11:45. Indy Pro 2000, their autograph session. Actually, not long from now, just over an hour. About 10 o'clock, we'll have these drivers at the autograph session. And again, each of them still with work to do here now. Still about almost 9 minutes, Greg, set to go here. Louis Foster on top. Jack William Miller's gone to P2. So I think he may have scuffed tires, or maybe had an issue, came in, went back out, and he's back into pit lane right now. He and Lindsey Brewer for fresh tires.
Correct. Whatever issue they potentially had, or if they were just, again, kind of laying low to start the field, he ran that lap a few minutes ago. So first one in, now he is back in for a second time, but had no problem finding speed in terms of his second stint on the track.
Yeah, Michael, busy pit lane right now. A bunch of teams in getting new tires on.
And people, you see the amount of drivers on pit lane. This allows those who are still out on the track, the Nolan Siegel, Juven Sudamarudhi, Reese Gold, Braden Eves, these drivers can now lay down some laps because they have a lot of open track. I thought I saw smoke a little bit earlier, and that's the Brewer machine. Yeah, we have a fire.
Yeah, Lindsey Brewer, they were having some issues with the exhaust on the right side of the car, potentially, burning the bodywork. I don't think there's a fire. It looks to me like just the exhaust potentially cooking the carbon fiber on the right side of the car. Yeah, they're just going to try to cool that down a little bit, the bodywork. Lindsey Brewer, her fast time of 1:22.808, just 1.1 seconds back for a debut weekend at this particular racetrack, on a grippy racetrack that is tough to get around. Lindsey doing a great job coming out of the gate here now. But right now, it's essentially exclusive Autosport, P1 and P2. Louis Foster for exclusive Autosport. Jack William Miller working in the actual engineering room with Louis and John Hayes, the engineer for the team in their Indy Pro 2000 program. So that exclusive Autosport pairing now of Foster and Miller, P1 and P2, strong. Nolan Siegel, the point leader for D-Force Racing, in third. Juven Sudamarudhi for Pabst in fourth. A winner last year, Juven was, as I said, in USF 2000. Reese Gold in number 55 coming into the event, fourth in points, a win at Barber Motorsports Park. This is a young kid that's going to win a lot of races in his career.
Curious, and back to the Jack William Miller topic with exclusive Autosport, the importance of that for that driver to see that alliance happening and what it's done for his season.
Well, interesting. First, we'll go to exclusive Autosport. They started the season with 3 drivers in Indy Pro 2000, Louis Foster, Christian Brooks, and Matt Round-Garrido. Christian had a massive wreck at the St. Petersburg event, didn't race at all, was in qualifying. So he has not been back. We don't know whether Christian will be back this year, so it goes down to 2 drivers. Matt Round-Garrido, the budget, the funding he had in place kind of followed through a little bit, so he's off. So Louis Foster is by himself at Barber Motorsports Park. Now, he's a veteran driver. He works really well with John Hayes. But we've watched Jack William Miller be by himself, essentially a single-car team. Had a teammate a couple of races for a little bit, but when you're by yourself with one single stream of data, maybe you're going off in the wrong direction. When you have 2 drivers, you can try 2 different things, or hey, here's the data trace. You should be able to go this fast for a corner. You're not rolling enough corner speed. You're on the brakes too early. This is going to give Jack a chance to sit down. They're going to overlay data. It is going to be huge for Jack William Miller to get the data and to be able to work with a team. Exclusive Autosport won the team championship last year. They are one of the best and finest organizations in the sport right now.
There'll be a flurry of activity in the final 5.5 minutes of this qualifying session. Fastest time right now belongs to Foster, 129.694. How many more tenths or even hundredths of a second can these teams shave off in the last 5 minutes of this session?
You know, honestly, with the temperature being a little bit different than yesterday, I would think we could probably get down to a 4 or a 3. That would not surprise me at all. Here comes Juven Surrendermurli up into second. I don't think the Foster's anywhere near yet, where he could go. So with the amount of time still happening, but you said less than 5 to go, I think now, Foster's got a lot in that car. And the thing is, fuel load going down, like I said, we're just getting the tires up to where they need to be. Foster could easily go down to a 3.
Gold, Ahmed, and Brown. Actually, Brown now the only driver remaining on pit lane, as everybody out trying to get a good lap in. Actually, Reese Gold still on pit lane, but of the 16 cars, 14 out vying. It's Louis Foster still P1, minute 21, 69.46.
One of the key things the drivers who pit a little bit later have to make sure is when they do come out on those cold tires and they're not quite up to temperature, they have to make sure that they stay out of the way of the drivers who are on flyers. If you impede another driver because you're just coming up to temp, maybe you can't roll as much corner speed as them and they have to check up a little bit, a penalty is going to come from race control. You really have to watch that when you pit later on in the session.
Interesting, as we watch on our video screens, the final portion. There is the timing and scoring line at the exit of turn number 10 into turn number 11. So as you see those drivers, and as we talk about qualifying, they are able to complete that lap out in turn number 10. Reason being, if we use the traditional start-finish line, they'd have to go all the way back around the track. That way, if you needed to come in and make some adjustment to your car, you're right at the entrance of pit lane.
Exactly. It works perfectly that way, right? You're cutting right in. You're not losing as much time. It's able to shorten the sessions down a little bit as well, time-wise, because we have, of course, a packed schedule of on-track action throughout Friday and Saturday here in Indianapolis. And again, it should be a tremendous weekend for the drivers on the road to Indy.
By the way, Nolan Siegel just turned fastest lap of the session for him, second in terms of the overall pace. But second fastest lap of the session goes to Siegel, 121.7445.
Yeah, and that's first and second in the points. Siegel leading the points in second, Foster in second with his consistent 4 runs in the top 5 currently in that P1 spot, a 121.694. They have not found any more speed. Still about 3 minutes remaining. Open track for most of these drivers. And again, watching to not get behind someone too close. You like the slipstream, but you don't like losing the air over the front wing, that downforce you need in the higher speed, consistent running corners.
Greg just spoke about Nolan Siegel turning his quickest lap, a minute 21.7. Louis Foster last time by, minute 21.8. Lap before that, a minute 21.8. So about 2/10 off, basically a 10th off, because the provisional pole right now, minute 21.69. So running consistent laps and able to really get that quick one down. So we'll keep our eye on not only Nolan Siegel, but Juven Surrendermurli as well.
Again, we tend to look at the month of May in terms of different weeks. For example, we'll talk about speeds for the Indy cars next week that you're not going to match on race day. Because of this qualifying setup, is the speed we're seeing from these cars in a qualifying session really much different than the speed that we see in terms of the actual race itself?
It's very interesting, Greg, because it depends on what they've done with tires. Has somebody tried to maybe hold on to a fresh set for one of the races? Because one of the big things about our categories, because we're maybe a lower horsepower, grip helps us out so much. We haven't run on IndyCar rubber yet. That's one of the things that's going to happen. This track's going to change quite a bit. The minute IndyCar gets out there, when Indy Lights gets out there and starts banging laps down, our lines are going to change a bit, because sometimes they're going to be traveling across a line. We don't have the same race line as an IndyCar. So a lot of the times, that rubber could either, depending on the weather, provide us with more grip or make things a bit greasy. Could be a little different. We could see fast times as well in the races.
Minute and a half remaining in this qualification session. Kiko Porto just a moment ago turned his quickest lap at a minute 21.91. Jack William Miller, quickest lap as well, minute 21.8304. So that is 4 and 5 respectively on the timing and scoring chart.
And we talk about drivers moving up through the order, right? Moving up through this ladder system. Well, Kiko Porto is one of the drivers. He won USF2000 last year. He's got the red, white, and black Road to Indy scholarship colors. Took over $400,000 moving up into the Indy Pro 2000 class with D-Force Racing. A young Brazilian who is going to just keep getting better and better, rookie in the program this year. He's into the top 5, which is big for him right now. Teammate to Nolan Siegel. D-Force Racing based out of of Texas, a really strong organization. A former champ car driver, David Martinez, he and his brother Ernesto running that program. So they're very strong. We know as well Siegel really coming into his own as a rookie in the program with 2 wins. But it's still 0.04 of a second for Louis Foster. Siegel has not been able to keep that momentum forward. There's less than 20 seconds remaining. Yuven Sundar Murthy there in 4th, but Jack William Miller fully benefiting from the new technical alliance for Exclusive Autosport. Finds himself P3.
Yeah, just turned his quickest lap, minute 21.79. We have about 5 seconds remaining. We will see the checkered flag out momentarily. Of the 16 cars, everybody's still out trying to get their quickest lap, with the exception of Yuven Sundar Murthy, who is sitting on pit lane. Checkered flag is out. The session is over, and we will keep an eye on the field as they finish up their qualification session.
Hey, Louis Foster said this before, and I mentioned it already. They have struggled early in the season on qualifying. Does he get the job done here right now? Everybody coming across the timing line to cap things off. Jack William Miller still rolling in the number 40 as well. Does anybody else jump up the order? It's Foster, Siegel, Brown, Jonathan Brown for turn 3. Motorsports goes P1. The Irishman, his best qualifying run. What a lap for Jonathan Brown. Does it hold? Foster still on the racetrack, as is the 3 of Josh Green. But Jonathan Brown, the Irishman, for turn 3, Motorsports lays down a 1:21.677, 17 thousandths of a second quicker than Louis Foster. But here comes Foster out of turn number 9 and 10. Can he steal back the pole position? Foster, for Exclusive Autosport, trying to go to the top of the charts, does not get the job done. That is a shocker. Jonathan Brown, who comes into the program right now, a little further down the order in the points, 14th. What a tremendous run for him. And listen, all the drivers here, Michael, as you know, have the talent. You just have to put that lap together, and Jonathan Brown got it done. 17 thousandths of a second over Louis Foster.
And I don't even think I saw Jonathan Brown in the top 10. I wasn't even paying attention to him. And when he came out, I was actually keeping an eye on Jack William Miller. And when Brown came across timing and scoring, what a fantastic lap for him.
That is huge, especially for his confidence and momentum coming into this weekend. Again, as I said, has kind of settled in. He's had some decent results and been comfortable with the car. But again, just really getting used to running with Turn 3 Motorsports, used to this new Indy Pro 2000 tub. And for him, the young Irish driver, P1, 121.677. A shocker to start the day for Indy Pro 2000. Louis Foster would have liked the pole and that bonus point, but for him to start on the front row, way better than we've seen early on in the season. Really good start for Foster. Point leader Nolan Siegel will start on the inside of row number 2, right behind Brown. He'll be 3rd. 4th, Jack William Miller. Again, a successful partnership launch with Exclusive Autosport for Miller. Yuven Sundar Murthy and Reese Gold will be on row number 3. Row 4 for the start of the opening race for Indy Pro 2000 will have Kiko Porto, the reigning USF2000 champion, alongside Colin Kaminsky for Pabst Racing. Anam Ahmed and Braden Eves, another former USF2000 champion, will be on row 5. Jordan Missick and the Mexican Salvador de Alba on row number 6. Josh Green, a winner from St. Petersburg, starting 13th. He will not be happy with that qualifying run. He'll start alongside Wyatt Prokachik. Lindsey Brewer, just 1.1 seconds back in her debut. Great run in qualifying for Brewer. And Charles Finelli, you talk about Lindsey being the only woman in the road to Indy. Charles Finelli, 58 years of age. So if you're out there right now thinking you would like to be in one of these cars, you can cheer for Charles Finelli from Fat Boy Racing.
Good on you, Charles. Our thanks to Rob Howden. We will see you later on this afternoon for more action in this road to Indy. Rob always doing a fantastic job. Well, fans, coming up next, the stars and the cars of the NTT IndyCar Series.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.